Welcome to Lacrosse Recruiting 101, where the biggest names in lacrosse share their inside views and expertise. Now, your host, Luke Cometti.
Ryan Powell, thanks for doing the podcast.
Yeah, Luke, thanks a lot for having me on.
Of course. We're here in these beautiful new offices that you guys just moved into not too long ago. Tell us about your transition into this spot in Chittenango here.
Yeah, so, I run two different companies. I have Rhino Lacrosse and I also have Powell Lacrosse. Rhino does lacrosse camps across the country. We run some events, do clinics and things like that. So that's kind of the instruction side of the business that I would say. And then we have Powell Lacrosse as well. And got that up and going about 7 years ago, manufacturing lacrosse sticks and uniforms, gloves, a lot of the accessories in the sport. But it's been a lot of fun. I've been I lived out in Portland, Oregon for about 10 years when I was playing professional indoor for the Lumberjacks out there. I called that home for 10 years, which was awesome, just a wonderful place, great experiences. But then moved back and started at Powell Lacrosse right when I got back to Syracuse and had an office in Manlius for about 8 years. And I just called it quits in that office. It was 760 square feet. We had 3 storage units down the road. And now we have a 5,000 square foot building, which is beautiful in Chittenango. And as you can probably tell behind me, we're still just making the transition and getting moved in. So we've been got the keys here and been here for about 10 days, but making great progress. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So it's huge compared to where we were. And I walk in the front door now and I was like, this is really cool. So being from a small town and now having a 5,000 square foot building with, some of my coworkers in here with me, it's been cool and humbling.
Yeah. Well, driving up, seeing this, commercial building, kind of brick outside, then you walk in, it's all brand new on the inside. I mean, plenty of space. You even got a field out over here on the side. You talked about potentially putting some box walls in and, making a little box arena there. It's just, when you get the space, you have so many more opportunities to kind of expand and do what you want.
Yeah, nice. For sure. No, it's been, it's great. And you can already see that we're going to be a lot more efficient and effective. And, just kind of our vibe in general, I think is going to, take a big step forward for, like I said, my coworkers being able to come to work here now. And it's a legit place and it's really cool. And we would like to get the box outside, but old school building right on the Erie Canal, which, people listening that might live outside of the Syracuse area don't know a lot about the Erie Canal, but, major waterway. Old school waterway that wraps through upstate New York. But so we're excited to be here, and it's going to be awesome.
Let's talk about Rhino Lacrosse. So you guys do events and clinics and whatnot throughout, I think all over the place. Talk about some of the most recent events you guys put on.
Yeah, so we just got done with the Ellicottville Lacrosse Festival. It's in Ellicottville, New York, Holiday Valley Ski Resort.
Beautiful area.
Yeah, beautiful. It's awesome there. Cool town. And I look at it like, what are the most impactful tournaments that I've attended over the years? Lake Placid is certainly at the top of that list.
Of course.
But Ellicottville is like I would consider it a mini Lake Placid. So it doesn't have the potential to grow to a couple hundred teams, but, we had 36 teams this year. Wow. We would like to get that up to about 50 teams next year. That's kind of the goal, but that's one of the events that Rhino ran. We had 12 summer lacrosse camps, on the West Coast, Midwest, and in the Northeast, obviously. But Rhino, I'm in the process of that's all going to kind of come under Powell Lacrosse moving forward. So It will be kind of all encompassing, and I'm excited about that. Just clarity and trying to run two businesses is not always easy. So we're going to bring everything underneath one roof, and we're in the process of doing that as well. So a lot of changes in the works and happening as we speak.
Well, with Rhino now, which you're going to bring under Powell Lacrosse, when you do the clinics, is that usually coincide with your tournaments? Do you have the tournaments, but then it's kind of an additional offering for those teams that come?
We do a little bit of that. out in Oregon, I ran a big event, the Oregon Lacrosse Classic, and we would do a 4-day camp leading into the weekend. So we had teams coming from Vancouver, British Columbia, and Colorado. So it would give families an opportunity to come and experience Bend for a week instead of just coming in there for the weekend. So we have tried to piggyback, some of the events and offering, programming that we think is suitable for that market and a good fit in those locations.
Yeah. So Powell Lacrosse, what's the latest there? Obviously, you see the company on social media, you see the new product you're putting out. I know from when I was coaching in Austin, the thing that we got all the time for our younger players were those youth sticks. Like, you could not find a better deal for the youth sticks you guys had. Plus it came throwing better than the stick I was using. Like, that's the thing, you can buy a good youth stick, but like, is the pocket good? And it was like half the time it was, hard as could be. It was a terrible pocket. Obviously, it was not a custom string job. It's manufactured, but I don't know how you guys figured it out. All of a sudden you guys are dishing out these youth sticks that are literally throwing better than the stick I had. So I was using one for a while, but talk about a Powell Lacrosse and what's going on there.
Yeah, so it's very exciting what's going on. It's first of all with the sticks, and to your point, I appreciate you saying that, because we do take a lot of pride in our out of the box, ready to perform at a high level away with all of our sticks. I would say that we've gathered some of the best stringers in the country that do the work for us, and they have developed patterns that go in every single one of the heads that we offer. We're currently working on our first women's stick, and we have heads and we have the shafts, and now we're just working on that perfect pattern right now. We were hoping to launch the stick a couple months ago. We don't feel like we have got the perfect pocket just yet. So there's heads being shipped all over the place to our stringers, supplies, trying different meshes, different types of pockets and things like that. So we're getting there, but we take a lot of pride basically in the stick. That's kind of the mission of the company, is to be the number one lacrosse stick maker on the planet. That's what we're focused on and trying to do. We got a lot of other cool products that we're putting out there as well. But, I'm having a lot of fun kind of doing the Powell thing. The story with me was I was working for Nike. I was the first fully endorsed Nike athlete. I would sit in a lot of the different product meetings. I was still playing professional. Well, it was time for my renewal of my contract. It was a 5-year deal with Nike. And they offered me half of the money that I was getting paid because I retired and stopped playing professional at the time. So I kind of felt like they valued me more as an athlete and a pro player, and that was great. My experience with Nike was world class and an amazing company. But when I got that offer from them, I was like, hey, I've been doing this my whole life. I'd work for Warrior, I'd work for Brine, I worked for Nike. And I was like, I know how to do this. And, at that time, I was just like, hey, let's get this rolling. So we've been going for about 7 years. We've been growing. I would say the coolest part about what I'm doing with Powell Lacrosse is it's real and it's authentic. We operate to our own drum. We don't feel like we need to hit a new product to the market at a certain deadline and things like that. We roll products out when we feel good about them, when they're ready to go. And that's one of the benefits about being online direct only compared to being in retail. So we don't feel that pressure to hit deadlines and come out with things. We want to do products right, and we want to continue to grow in the most authentic way. Yeah.
And it seems like one of your competitive advantages is what I kind of talked about before, what I experienced, just because, we happen to have a youth player using a youth stick, and that's what I started using. But as you said, you do it with all your sticks. And as a lacrosse player, I think anyone knows you can buy the brand new, nicest shaft, the nicest head. If it's not strung well, it's useless. It's nothing. Yeah. So focusing on the pocket and, how that ball's coming out and, how you're able to receive the ball, you're able to catch it. Like, that's a great place to start, is where your focus is, because that's really what matters.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the beginner stick that you mentioned that your program had gotten some of, that's a world of difference. It's one of the most pricey beginner sticks that's out there, offered at retail at $65. There's competitors that you can get out there for $30, $35, but the difference is ours is setting a kid up for enjoyment and success in the game, because he can keep the ball in his stick and he can throw good passes to his partner and things like that. So that's been fun, and we actually sell a lot of youth beginner sticks. Our Scout stick has been very popular, and we sell hundreds of them to different programs across the country.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. Because if a kid's starting out and either it's just flying right out of the stick and you can barely catch it, or there's, so much hook that it's throwing straight to the ground, it's like, talk about not setting them up for success. After a season, they're going to be like, screw this.
Yeah, for sure.
And they don't know any better. They don't know how to strike. Their parents probably don't know, especially if they didn't play. They're not going to know what to do.
Yeah, we're trying to grow the game.
That's
and I think a kid's first experience of picking up a stick is very important. People can get turned off if it's that crappy pocket that doesn't hold the ball and throws the ball down into the ground. So that's what we've kind of focused on, is, setting the kids up for a great experience from the first time that they pick up a lacrosse stick.
Yeah. So you do have another iron in the fire with CBA lacrosse. Talk about, you took the position last year, I believe, and, you went through a season, you're starting up fall now. Talk about how your experience has been with CBA lacrosse and coaching high school.
Yeah, it's been great. I coached high school back in 2008 out at Mullen High School in Denver, Colorado. It was a private school, so I had 1 year of kind of high school coaching experience. I worked on the staff at Syracuse, my brother Mike's senior year in 2004 as a volunteer assistant. Certainly learned a lot through those experiences, but besides, running lacrosse camps and doing clinics and that kind of thing, it has been a while since I put myself back in as a head coach and kind of the leader of a program and building something. So you'd work with a kid for 4 days and, hey, I'm glad you're improved. Okay, now I'm leaving Arizona and I'm going up to Oregon for my next camp,
Yeah.
So now consistency has been really cool, but great experience from going and talking to the administration over there, the athletic director and the president of the school, first-class people. And as I sat with them and kind of discussed the position, I liked it more and more, the things that I was hearing, and just the kids in general at CBA. They're great kids. They, are used to structure, which is the way that I kind of like to coach and coach, be teaching the kids. So it's been a great experience. We had a great first year, 16-3. And had some nice wins and a couple ones that we would like to have back, obviously. You can always say that, but our mission at Christian Brothers Academy is to win the state championship. That goal will never change. This year is going to be a challenge for our coaching staff, where we've lost 12 seniors from last year's squad that a lot of guys have gone on. They'll be playing lacrosse at a high level. But we got our work cut out for us to achieve that goal that we set out for ourselves, but it's fun, and I don't know that I would have taken a job anywhere else. CBA is where my kids will eventually go. They're Immaculate Conception in Fayetteville right now, which is a private Catholic school that a lot of people end up leaving there and going to CBA. So that's kind of the plan for my kids. So if I have the opportunity to coach my boys someday, dream come true.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you've been through 1 year, you're starting up your second fall, going into your second season. As you mentioned, 12 seniors graduated. So I'm sure things will change up a little bit, but can you just talk about your philosophy, as you've gotten into it again with coaching, especially at the high school level? Where are some things you focus on, some things you're not as worried about? Just kind of talk about that generally of, how you approach it.
Yeah, I think that I just kind of look at the playbook of kind of what I've learned over the years. I take Coach Pressler from Team USA and the practice plans that he used to have in place, and the sense of camaraderie within the team, and playing on Team USA, no greater honor or feeling that I've ever had from the sport. But my teammates and I on that squad in 2010, because of Coach Pressler, had an amazing appreciation for the United States of America. But my philosophy is picking up the things that I've learned from him and Coach Desco and Coach Simmons and my high school coach, Coach Venaquatro, who is very military type style. We had a plan in place and we were to the minute and everybody looked the same. And, just kind of the structure and the repetition on the most important aspects of the game were done every single day. So we used to, West Genesee, your squad there, we mimicked a lot of the stuff that West Genesee did at Carthage. So
I say it sounded kind of like what Coach Masser's philosophy with Coach Venaquatro.
So Coach V used to go see Coach Masser and the practices that you guys did. And I remember going to games and seeing West Genny pull up. It was a terrible game, but you played against Rome Free Academy at RFA. And I was a young kid and West Genny pulled up and everybody had their helmets on the bus. And so that's what we did. We're not doing that at CBA, but my point is that I'm pulling from my experiences in lacrosse and life and trying my best to coach the kids in a way that I felt was very successful for me as a player, from learning life lessons to becoming a better left-handed shooter and things like that. So it's just kind of picking and choosing those things that I feel like have impacted me the most. And now I try to relay that messaging to the guys on the CBA team. And we play at an up-tempo style. And, that's the way every one of our practices are. We don't stand around. We go from one drill to the next, and a lot of reps.
Yeah. Well, repetitions is huge, obviously. And you mentioned that your goal at CBA is to win a state championship. So after this past year, looking to the next year to maybe achieve that goal, season ends, right? Spring 2022. What are you telling the boys to do, for example, that summer? Maybe you don't get to see them a lot. What are you telling them to focus on?
Yeah, well, the guys that are really serious about lacrosse, that's the one thing about high school sports, right? You got kids that have different interests as well. There's the guys that are extremely serious about lacrosse. There's some guys that come and they play other sports, which is awesome. But they play other sports and they kind of just show up in the spring and come out there and play lacrosse. So the guys that are, looking to play at the next level, they're playing all summer long. They're playing on some different club teams around the Syracuse area, the Salt Kings and Dylan Donahue's got a program now, True or something like that. Orange Crush, obviously. So a lot of our guys will do that, and then they're doing the showcases at different campuses where the college coaches reach out to them to come and get a little taste of the campus and let their staff get their eyeballs on the players and see their talents.
This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Pearl Lacrosse Balls. I don't even think it's a question at this point as far as what the best lacrosse balls on the market are, because anyone that has used Pearl lacrosse balls made by Guardian Sports knows that answer. These premium lacrosse balls are made here in the U.S. using an elastomer that meets all specs and standards and does not change over time. That means no more greasers and balls that are made to last. Make the upgrade now by going to guardiansports.com and get 10% off your first order using the discount code LR101.
Have you had any issues with parents? How has that relationship been? You've only been there a year. That can be the honeymoon phase sometimes, but I'm sure, there's been one thing or another, and I'm sure there will be if there hasn't. What's your philosophy there? How do you kind of approach the parents? Obviously, you want to have a good relationship with them. Sometimes it can be tough, especially with specific parents, if they're overstepping and whatnot. Can you just talk about maybe any experiences you have or maybe how you go about it?
Yeah, I think that it's a challenge for all coaches right now. It's, there's some crazy parents out there. I'm just going to be honest here. I mean, just going and, the tournaments that I run or going to a different tournament, just the, stuff that's said on the sidelines and yelling at the officials and yelling at the other team and things like that. It's a problem.
Wow.
To be honest with you. And I don't know exactly how to clean it up. I have kids now. I get excited for them. I could understand if my kid got hit in the back that he'd be screaming or be upset about it. So it's a challenge with my CBA first year. It was wonderful, to be honest with you. I don't know if it's the honeymoon phase or whatever, but I had a great parent group that helped out kind of behind the scenes on senior night and concession stand sales and stuff like that. So we meet 3 or 4 times throughout the season and just kind of go over the different behind the scenes stuff that we're doing. And then in terms of on-field performance, we were 16-3. We won some big games.
Yeah.
So we didn't hear the chatter as much maybe as might happen in the future. But I, try to keep the open door kind of policy that I'll kind of talk to anybody about anything. But I saw Kevin Cassis, the coach at Lehigh, one of my best friends in lacrosse. I actually got a picture of him and Chris Schiller on my desk here. One of the only photos that I have on my desk, but those guys are a couple of my best buddies that the sport has provided me. But he gave an awesome talk about kind of expectations for parents. And one of the things was, if you want to talk to me about your kid and his well-being, I'm glad to have that conversation. But if you want to talk to me about playtime, I don't ever want to hear from you. So I my messaging to the CBA players and families, I sent out a long note to kind of get things started when I was hired. And that was some of my messaging in there. And I would say that this year it was completely honored. I didn't hear from anybody about playtime and only just had to deal with some situations with the players, getting in a little bit of trouble here and there and stuff like that. So we had to, deal with that. But first year was awesome. And, fingers crossed we keep this rolling for moving forward. But Luke, the parents are crazy. You got to see it. I mean, it's...
Yeah.
So
no, I mean, we dealt with a handful down in Austin. And the thing is, you say the parents, but it's usually a small, minority that are the loudest. And those are the ones you're dealing with and seems to constantly be coming up because a lot of them are great and they understand. And like you said, of course, you're going to get excited. You're going to be their biggest cheerleader, whether it's your son or daughter. It's just knowing when you're doing too much and you're overstepping and, you got to let the coach do their job. And at some point you're going to start harming your kid, you're harming their development and whatnot. But it sounded like something that Miss Sarah used to say in the parents meeting. I remember my parents used to tell me it was my dad's favorite part about the parents meeting because he went for 2 years with my brother and 3 years with me. And Miss Sarah would just start it right off the bat. He'd say, hey, if your son, if he's sick, if he's not doing well in school and, you want to get some insight, his well-being, please reach out. You have my phone number, please come see me. But if it's about his playing time or another player's playing time, I'm not going to have that conversation.
Right.
And to that point, he's just getting it out of the way up front, right? As you did with your letter, as you said, you sent that out, you let them know this is, you're kind of setting the tone. And hey, I'm here to talk to you, but there's certain things that, and they all know why. I mean, they understand, but it's just, when you give them a little bit and you say, okay, well, I'll have this one conversation, then they hears, one parent hears that. So they're going to have that conversation with you. That opens up the floodgates and that's when things can get tough. But I think, to your point, you probably went about it the right way, setting the tone right away. Obviously having success always helps, but
for sure.
That's kind of the way to go about it.
Yep. No, it's good. It was a great first experience. So I'm excited to return, and we're just about ready to get practices fired up here. We're doing some Sunday training. We got a full schedule of some clinic work out in Lysander, out at the indoor center out there. So we'll have the brother squad heading out there to get some off-season work in, and I'd expect us to play hard in 2023, and I'm looking forward to the next season.
Yeah. So switching gears, I want you to think back to your playing career. You played on Team USA, both professional leagues, 4-time All-American at Syracuse, played at Carthage, a great high school. I mean, you had about as decorated of a career as you can have. And your brothers were very similar, right? 3 of the top players to ever play the game. What comes to mind? Like, what was it about, whether it was your childhood, your middle school, high school, like what was your upbringing? What was the environment that, led you to be the player you are and maybe the player your brothers are too?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think that, I try to relay that message. It's always a little bit challenging to do, because I would say that it kind of takes a unique and special type of player, or athlete, if you will, to kind of be motivated to go out and get better every single day. So there was a major focus on fundamentals. My story was my dad sold a shotgun to be able to afford my brother Casey and myself our first stick. So that's, a lower middle class family upbringing. So that has helped, because I think about that and it motivates me. But we focused on the fundamentals for the first 2 years. We were the first 2 kids in our town to have lacrosse sticks, and we didn't know the rules to the game. So we developed our own stuff. We would pass the ball back and forth. But, I can't tell you how many nights that I look back and underneath the street light, being out in the street in Jefferson Street in West Carthage, New York, and just playing catch with my brothers back and forth. So it was a major focus on the basic fundamentals of the game. And then it was a strong kind of athletic passion with extreme competition, with brothers pushing you, chasing at your toes all the time. And, so it was an unbelievable upbringing for me when I think about it. And it has a lot to do with my successes that I've had in lacrosse. It's traveling down and playing indoor box lacrosse in Watertown, and my parents scraping together enough money to send us to All-American Lacrosse Camp in Hamilton. That was the one camp that we would attend every summer. And, so I think that's kind of the encompassing thing, was from the time I was in 3rd grade until I was in 7th grade, I had the strongest foundation built to go on and have success in lacrosse. I could pass and catch with both hands really well, behind the back with both hands real well. So major focus on stick work, obviously, like I said, but my brothers were in the same boat. We went everywhere together. We did everything together. We competed like crazy out in the backyard, to the point that we would wear down all the grass in our backyard. It would just be a big dirt spot around our goal that was made out of 2 metal pipes, and the top crossbar was on the clothesline. And we had a little net going off the back of that, so we could have the goal be 6 foot tall or 4 feet tall, just depending on how hard you wanted to pull the rope.
Yeah. That's funny. One thing I noticed you said there was, from 3rd grade to 7th grade, you didn't play a whole lot of organized lacrosse. It was, under the street light, outside with Casey and Mike, and, just honing in on the fundamentals, learning to pass and catch well, both hands, behind the back, whatever it is. Fast forward to today, you look at some players, and I noticed this when I was coaching, kids would be playing organized lacrosse year round, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, but they couldn't even pass and catch well. And it's almost like, you got to master step A before you go to step B. And I understand, kids want to play in a game. Parents want their kid to play in a game. They want to cheer them on. And you understand that part of it. But I guess what I'm asking is, the dynamic nowadays, do you think it's a little detrimental that they're getting started with organized lacrosse right away? Because, as you know, it's, 10 players out there. There's one ball when on one team, and then it goes to the other team. I mean, as opposed to you and a friend, how many repetitions can you get in?
Yeah.
Right. So it's do you think there's got to be a balance, clearly, but I just kind of wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that right now it's with the travel teams and stuff like that, it's like families are on the go and going long distances like almost every weekend.
Yeah.
It's tough for me to say because I run this like side of the business as well with some of my Rhino things that I do. But kind of a focus on the skills and drills and, the basic fundamentals of the game, it does often get overlooked. I mean, kids are, instead of going to a camp now, they're, getting a couple hours of practice on their club team and then traveling a pretty good distance to go and play in a tournament. And when you're playing in a tournament, if you're playing 5 games, that game experience is good for you. But you're also not going out and probably right when you get done doing that, going out and banging the wall, which I think is the most important piece for a couple hours. So I'd like to see like the instruction get a little bit more emphasized at the younger levels. I don't think that don't get me wrong and non-judgmental, but getting in the car and driving 5 hours away, is that fun for the family? And that's, I guess, your personal choice. But for me, like with my kids, I want my kids to get instruction at the things that they're into and then, still be a kid and pop around and have fun and not be that, every single weekend type of thing. But that was a very long-winded answer that I just gave you to like go out there and play wall ball.
Exactly. And I was going to say, to your point, hopping in the car, driving 5 hours, usually playing on those clubs teams aren't cheap going to those events. So you're spending a lot of money, you're spending a lot of time. And I guess the whole point is your son or daughter can get better just playing a little wall ball, going in the backyard, taking 100 shots righty, 100 shots lefty. Because to your point, like they're in an organized game experience is good, but it's only part of it. You need to get those repetitions.
Yeah, for sure. I just played in a golf tournament actually yesterday, and I was with Lawrence Moulton, who was a Syracuse great on the hoops team, and James Mungro, football player, and Robert Drummond. All those guys played professionally, but Moulton was talking just about what he's up to now, and he's working with Eric Devendorf, and those guys do a skills and drills thing, and I think that's like awesome. Like a kid, like I just look at that, like okay, you got those 2 guys, and they're going to work with you in the gym for an hour. You're getting so much better and more education than you would be like hopping on an AAU team and traveling down to Maryland and playing in a couple games. So I'm all about the reps, practicing the most important part of the game. And I think that there's a lot of good teachers around town, across the country that you can tap into to work on your reps and keep getting better.
Yeah, I guess to take it one step further, the reps are huge, but if they're bad fundamentals, then they're just going to hurt you. So you do need that guidance. You do need that instruction. You don't need to always just do instructed playing, but you need it to develop the right habits to then go home and work on them yourself.
Yeah, for sure. Super important. So you got to be taught the right way and you got to be practicing the right things.
If Ryan Powell was in 3rd grade and you wanted to have the same path that you took as a lacrosse player, I guess it's going to kind of encompass everything we've talked about, and this is maybe what you're dealing with your sons. How would you go about it? What are some things, obviously fundamentals young and things like that, but even I guess more in the high school realm, like the balance of too much, not enough, recruiting and playing other sports. Can you just talk about some things that you would probably focus on to try to be the same player you were?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I'd probably move back to West Carthage if I was in 3rd grade because just the town itself really set my brothers and myself up for success. 2,500 people, 2 stoplights, not a lot going on, and I say that like not a lot of distractions. When I was in high school, you were either like kind of you didn't play sports and you were a party guy, or you played sports and you were serious about it. It was my brothers and I, we were always serious about what we were doing. But, in that town, but I think that the structure that Coach Venaquatro, so he was my phys ed teacher from 3rd grade and all the way up through. basically. So
wow.
he kind of came up. He was in elementary, and then he went to middle school. So, having that kind of competitiveness that he has, he made wiffle ball games when I was in 4th grade feel like you're in the World Series. So, that was really cool. But, a lot of the things that I was just talking about, if I wanted to, be successful in lacrosse, I kind of look back at what I did. And it was a great path. I mean, I played all sports as a kid. I played baseball. I played football and basketball. Loved to compete, loved sports, just in general, watching them on TV. I still do to the day. But hours on the wall and competitions on the wall. So, I mean, to your question, I guess if I wanted to do it all over again, I would just think back on all the things that I did. And it wasn't getting on a team and traveling across the country every single weekend. It was not that. It was about practicing the most important things and, trying to get to some good camps when I could to be taught at a high level.
You mentioned all the other sports too. I know you're a great football player. You said you played baseball, basketball. How did those impact your lacrosse game? Was that, is there a lot of skill transferred over? Was it just, maybe the little break you had by playing that sport? Then when you came back to lacrosse, you were fresh and ready to compete, or?
Well, basketball really helped me with lacrosse because I was a senior in high school. And we played in the sectional championship. We played against Nottingham, and we were down 1 with 8 seconds to go in the game. And I drove to the hoop, and I got fouled. I got up to the free throw line.
So you get 2 shots?
Yeah, 2 shots.
Okay.
When I get up to the free throw line, air ball. All right, the crowd is in my head. The Nottingham crowd's chanting "You're not Casey. You're not."
Geez.
So shot number 2, air ball. So back-to-back air balls, we lose by 1. And so basically that moment right there taught me hey, just focus on lacrosse. All right. That's your sport. Okay. So but there's a lot of things that, the movement in basketball, I would say helped me a ton in when I played in the National Lacrosse League, the indoor game.
Yeah.
The pick and roll game and kind of leveraging and getting little angles on people in a smaller space. That the
motion
basketball
offense.
helped, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the football probably helped it's a big team, a lot of guys on the squad and camaraderie and building the best thing that you possibly can. And, understanding that everybody needs to do their job in order for the team to be successful. That's one of the things that I kind of look back on and think about when it comes to football.
True.
You're not breaking a tackle if the right guard's not doing his job blocking a guy out and creating that hole for the tailback to get through and stuff like that. So, just in general, competing throughout the course of the year, and I've lost so many times and I've won so many times, and it's all been fun. But, those are the things that have helped me have a successful lacrosse career.
You talk about football having so many guys on the team, especially on the field. It reminded me of a quote that I think Dino Baber said, the Syracuse football coach. I'm not sure if it's an original quote, but he said, "I don't need you to make a play. I need you to do your job." Because if everyone does their job, then we're all going to make plays.
For sure.
And that was something that I would tell my lacrosse team all the time.
Yeah, I haven't heard that before. I like it.
Yeah, it's just, as you know, it's if everyone's doing their job, everyone's going to make plays. And it's a good way to approach it. But Ryan, thanks for taking the time, man. It's been a pleasure talking with you. And best of luck in the new offices here. Everything with Powell Lacrosse, Rhino Lacrosse, and obviously this spring with CBA.
Yeah, sounds good, Luke. Thanks a lot for having me on. You do a great job. I've listened to some of your other ones, and keep it up, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Lacrosse Recruiting 101. Catch us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Have a question for Luke? Email them to questions@lacrosserecruiting101.com.